Well, hello and welcome to Tomi Talks TV. I have one singular goal with this show, and that is to help you make smarter decisions so that you can have better relationships. I'd like to start as usual by saying a very big thank you. Thank you for all your likes and your shares and your comments on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. I really appreciate you because you're helping us spread the message further faster. So thank you very much indeed. Now today I'm going to be taking another one of your questions, and it goes like this. I have a long distance marriage, and I recently discovered that my husband has a female friend and they're too close for comfort. I did some digging and discovered that she even spends quality time with him and they talk frequently on the phone. He also goes to visit her. It caused problems in our relationship and I was angry, but he apologized and he told me they were not intimate, but just good friends. I told him that I had forgiven him, but the honest truth is I've not really forgiven him because anytime I see him, all I see is that he lied to me and cheated on me emotionally by talking with another woman and spending time with her instead of me. I have been down emotionally and it's affecting my relationship with my husband. I don't like sleeping in the same room with him anymore. I keep thinking about it and it hurts. He's going back to his base and I know our communication will be badly affected because I will not be the same way I was with him. What should I do? And I'm really sorry to hear, that you're going through this sort of difficult situation. It is a very challenging place to find yourself in when your trust has been broken by your spouse. So obviously you expect your marriage to be an exclusive relationship, and then all of a sudden you discover that there's somebody else in his life that he's spending a lot of time with. Now, as you said, he has said to you that this is a platonic relationship, so it's not as if they have been sexually intimate, but then he's obviously been emotionally intimate with her, and that is a huge challenge. Now, I can understand the way you feel because it's not something that you can easily get over. When somebody that you've placed your trust in, you suddenly find that they've broken your trust. So what do you do in that sort of situation? Well, the truth is this: you have no choice other than to forgive if you want to build your marriage. Because if you do not forgive your husband, then you're going to be stuck in a rut. And, ultimately your marriage is not going to be able to move forward. So even though you've said to him, you've forgiven him, you're saying to yourself, well, I'm not really forgiven him. You've got to make up your mind to forgive. If you want your marriage to work, you've got to take that first step of just releasing that hurt, releasing that pain, and just making up your mind to forgive. Now, let me say this. The fact that you choose to forgive him doesn't mean that the hurt is going to automatically disappear. It doesn't mean that, the memories are going to automatically disappear, because you don't suddenly develop amnesia when you decided to forgive someone. It's not like God erases your memory completely when you decide to forgive someone, but rather you make the choice first, and then your feelings will catch up later. So first of all, you've got to decide in your heart that you're going to forgive him. You see, and when we think about the fact that, every one of us as believers, we at some point in time had to ask God for his forgiveness for all the things that we've done, then we should be willing also to extend that kind of forgiveness to people that hurt us. So that's the first step. Make up your mind to forgive him. And then the second thing is this: when you start to think negative thoughts about him, about your marriage, about your relationship, then you've got to replace those thoughts with positive thoughts, because the battlefield is going to be in your mind. You're going to be having pictures, and thoughts of him with this other woman and all the rest of that. But then what are you going to replace those thoughts with? Because if you leave your mind in a vacuum, then all those negative thoughts are going to play havoc in your mind. So you've got to replace those negative thoughts with positive thoughts. And what I will encourage you to do is to pick out scriptures that talk about having a successful marriage, and having a husband that loves God, and confess those sorts of scriptures, and also keep saying to yourself, well, look, my husband loves God, my husband loves me, my husband is going to stay faithful, my husband is committed in this marriage, and replace those negative thoughts with positive thoughts. So that's the next thing I'd like to say. Then the other thing you and your husband really need to talk through is the issue of his access to this woman and her access to him, because ultimately that kind of access cannot continue if you want your marriage to work. It's a very challenging place to be in when you're in a long distance marriage. And I always say to people, long distance marriage is not a long-term strategy for marriage. I understand that, sometimes we might find ourselves in situations where that is what we have to do, for that particular season of life. I myself, was separated from my husband for about 2 years when we moved. My daughters and I moved to this country, and he was still, in Nigeria, still, working on certain things before he moved to join us. So it was a choice that we made, but we knew that it was going to be a time-limited choice, time-limited separation. So what I'm saying is this: look, it's not a long-term strategy for you to be separated. So ideally, you need to be thinking about how can we actually come back together. But I know that sometimes people are married to someone who is maybe in the military, for instance, or things like that, and somehow it's not possible for you within that period of time to live together. But what is he going to do about his long-term access? Because he needs to be committed to, sorting out this issue of this woman spending time with him and him spending time with her. He's got to cut off from that relationship. That's the thing, if he wants your marriage to work. So that's something that you need to address between the two of you. But ultimately, you must remember that, look, if you want your marriage to work, then cutting off your husband and, not spending time with him and, not wanting to be in the same room with him, not wanting to sleep with him, that's not going to help. All that does is simply drive him further away from you. So if you want to build your marriage, then you've got to get over those feelings, and do what you ought to do as a wife in spite of the way you feel. And if you keep doing the right things, then your feelings, your emotions will catch up with you at the end of the day. So what I'm encouraging you to do is this: trust God to lift up that hurt and lift up that pain, from your heart. Just lay before him and say to him, Lord, look, I forgive my husband. I've made up my mind. I'm going to forgive him. Help me in this situation, and help me to forgive and help me to manage my mind throughout this whole period of time. And don't punish him for what has happened, but instead pour out your heart and be even more loving than ever. The more you act loving, the more you will feel loving towards him. Well, I hope this has helped you. If this has helped you, then please leave me a message on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, or wherever it is you're watching. And if you've got a question you would like me to answer, then head on over to tomitalks.com/ask, and I'll answer your question next time. See you next time. Bye-bye.